Hey, detectives, want to talk to you. Hey, Mr. Brown here. Want to talk to you about our newest lab, Lab 16, which is going to be note cards. Previously in lab class, I had you look at an article and I had you highlight it, and hopefully you went through and did this to all of your articles. If you didn't, it's okay. You will have the opportunity to work on this now. So in today's little thing, we have our articles, and right now you're looking at an unprepared, unprepped article. And what you're gonna do is read it, scan it, skim it, and you're gonna use your outline. You're gonna use your research questions. You're gonna use all of your materials to figure out and pull out information that is important. And one of the things I want to do is we are going to apply our research criteria. And one of the pieces of criteria is, how do you know what to write down? Well, you got to ask yourself, a couple things. What makes an idea important? And what makes an idea important as you're reading these articles is you want to know, does it answer one of your research questions? Does it fit somewhere on the outline? Or is the idea being presented interested to you? Also want to make sure if you find any facts, statistics, you want to include those because those are going to help make your writing stronger. Okay? Now, what I want to do next is let's roll the dice and see how many articles you are going to have how many pieces of info.
Oh, that is 5 sources. And just so you can make sure, again, 5 sources out of the next article that support your answer to the information problem.
So you heard it here first. I want you to go through the article and you're going to find 5 ideas that, and I know I said sources, but out of the binder articles, each article going forward, you're going to find 5 ideas. And what I want you to do is this. I want you to go through the article. Notice they should have already been labeled. So if I look right here, all right, I've got my letter A. Get my arrow here. I've got my letter A. I know I gave you an article already that was A, but this is an old file. So you have this for you. Actually, it's probably B. Let's correct that real quick. So for a lot of you, this is article B. And then the next thing what I want you to do, and I want you to notice carefully, is after I highlighted a fact or idea, I numbered it. So you're going to go through, and as you highlight, you're going to number it. And I'm going to show you and explain to you why you number this, all right, as we get further. Because right now what we're doing is article prep. We are prepping our articles to be dissected. We're looking at our articles, attempting to find the important information that supports our theory. And again, what I want you to see is that, again, I'm numbering each of the ideas as I identify them, okay? This is important. Oops. All right. So look here, I came through, I've got all my ideas, right? So everything's labeled just to show you I actually went a step further. I found 8 ideas. I know it's hard to read the highlighting, but I did. All right. So then our next step is to get our tools together. All right. And our tools are going to be central. So when we're doing note cards, and we are doing this the old-fashioned way for now, when we do them the old-fashioned way, we need to have our tools. And under our tools, you've got, I think to help with your organization, you would have multiple highlighter colors with you. Multiple colored pens help with highlighting, and I'll explain that later. And then you're going to end up technically, most times you're going to have 2 sets of cards. You're going to end up with the color cards that are going to be your source citation cards. And then new this year, what I did was instead of giving everybody individual packs, I have 2 of the note card packs that you're going to get. For this project pack for the mock video games project, I'm just going to give everybody, and I've cut it down due to time, 25 note cards. So you're going to use five of your white cards as source cards, and you're only going to have to make 20 notes from the binder articles. So that's the good news. All right. So let's keep going. So now that we've seen what the tools are, our next step is to set up our note cards. Now, let me remove that real quick. All right, so let's set up our note card. So it's important. One thing right out of the bat, you need to put your name, first and last name on all the cards, on the back of the cards. But don't put it too big because you may have to put some notes or some other ideas on the back. The next thing that you're also going to include is the course code. And, whoops, didn't mean to do that, is the course code. So if we're using the note cards, all right. So again, I want you to understand a couple things. So on your individual note cards on the back, you're going to put your name. So I've got my son's name here, Miles Dean. Your class code, it's not your homeroom. So whatever day you have me for class, if you look at the slip here, Monday's class is 8:03, Tuesday's 8:04, Wednesday's 8:05, Thursday's 8:01, and Friday's 8:02. All right. It's important to know that index cards can be jumbled, can be misplaced, and if you don't have your name on them, I don't know how either who to give the grade to or how to return them. So if I can't grade them and I can't return them, I throw them out. I'm going to say that again. If I can't grade them, can't return them, I throw them out. So you want to make sure that you put your name on the back of every card. First and last name, no nicknames. Again, we have already talked about the issues with names. All right. So, again, the next step after that is let's talk about note cards versus source cards. All right. So source cards represent the actual materials where you're pulling your ideas from. And you're going to need 7 to 10 cards for the overall project. For this project, you only need your binder articles. So we're going to narrow it down, all right? So source cards typically are going to be color cards. They're not going to be in the white note card stack. And remember, your sources are books, magazines, websites, journals, and newspapers, all right? And then you're going to have, in theory, when the project is done, the overall 8th grade project. So you'll have 7 to 10 sources and about 100 total notes from those sources. So it's real important that you're able to distinguish between those. So the source citations are, so for example, if I zoom in right here, this is the source citation as I zoom in from the one of the first articles, Gamers Can't Escape Reality. So when I set up my source card, I know that in my notes, any note that I take comes from that source. So when I do set up my note cards, and you're going to see this in the next image, they're going to be set up a specific way. And that way is very, very important, again, because organization is key. So let's look at the setup of those note cards. So let's remove, so do that. And let's look at the setup of, like I said, the setup of those note cards. So, put myself back on here. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move myself out of the way here. Sorry about that if it made you dizzy. All right. Whoops. There we go. Much better. And let's look at, all right, so it's real important. So the first thing you need to know, and I'm going to move myself out of the way in a second. Sorry about that. Let's move me under there. There we go. Let's move over here. So when you're setting up your note cards, it's important to know a couple things. One, you're only using one original idea per card. One idea per card. All right? Now, if you take a look closely here, okay, you're going to work with one source at a time. So you're going to work with source A until you've pulled all the information out of source A. And once you've done that, and you've written the notes into your written the notes from source A onto the note cards, then you move to source B. Remember your outline. Okay, real important that you remember your outline. So let's look at what your note card's supposed to have on it. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm actually going to clear the board for a second. So the first thing you're going to do, if you notice, is let's come over here. So the first thing you have is you have A1 in the right-hand corner. The A1, A represents source A. 1 represents the first note or idea. Notice I've written that out in black. Or like I recommend writing it out in one color. And underneath, you want in parentheses, you want to put the author's last name, comma, first name. And if you're even smarter, you'll put the year that this was copyrighted. I missed it in my notes, but you should make sure you have it in yours. The red, which is underneath, is once I've written the idea, I want to paraphrase it. So again, my original idea is people globally spend 3 billion hours every week playing video games. My paraphrase is video games are played all over the world. 3 billion hours are spent playing video games. Then after I've paraphrased it, I explain how that statement is important or how I would use it. This shows how popular video games are. So again, it's not, once I've written the original idea, I have to paraphrase it, and then I need to explain why this idea is important or how I would use this idea. Then the next step is probably one of the hardest steps is I look at my outline and I have to decide where on the outline this idea fits. So at the top of the card, and this is the last thing I do after I've done all the analysis, is I'm going to decide where on the outline this is going to go. So I'm going to write Roman numeral 1, what are video games? I think this statement will help me explain what video games are and why people like them. So again, you write down your original idea, and your card looks like this when you are done. It's going to be labeled. You're going to have your paraphrase. You're going to have the author's name plus the copyright on the card. You're going to have all this set up for you. And I'm sorry, you're going to have to set this up for you. And this is going to be important to have this because you're going to need it when you create your detailed outline and when you write your paper or whenever you have to reference the ideas you're using. So here's the deal, guys. You're going to create, over the weekend, you're going to do 20 note cards in this format. Okay? Good luck. Hopefully you're watching these videos in homeroom. All right? And I'll actually also create a flyer or handout that'll go with this, that you'll be able to use. But again, the goal is 20 note cards. So I'm going to give you all 25. Make sure you follow these steps in setting them up and setting your binder articles up. Good luck, and I'll see you when I see you.